Ma'am, what about X1 alkalinity practical?
Okay, your alkalinity is still remaining. So let
Yes,
me
ma'am.
complete with the experiment number 2, okay? And then I'll explain to you experiment number 1 again. So because X1 and X2, both the batches are here, let us complete this week's experiment. Then let the X2 batch move out. I'll discuss alkalinity determination, okay? So the experiment number 2 is the determination of. Okay. Now you are all expected to write this experiment in the file. Now it is always better that you write it, but if you are not writing, at least the observation table part, you should take a screenshot or a photograph in your mobile so that when you sit for writing your practical pages, you are having the observations with you. Okay, now alkalinity we have already discussed a lot in the theory, but the experiment also will be discussed for X1 batch in half an hour time. But initially 1.5 hours let me take to explain the second experiment. So second experiment should get ready with X1 and X2 batch this week. Okay, so the next experiment is determination of total hardness, calcium hardness, magnesium hardness, permanent hardness, and temporary hardness present in the given water sample by performing a complexometric titration. So, a complexometric titration is performed with a polydentate ligand, hexadentate ligand, that is ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid, which is the complexing agent. And the concentration of your EDTA is 0.01 molar. Yes. Uh, it is better to write, but if you are not writing, then what can I do for this? I can share the PDF of this particular PPT. This PPT is a hardness experiment PPT. I will make its PDF and put it in your X section theory group.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, because see, I discussed the theory in your chemistry theory class also. Because this is part of theory and practical both, this will be a repetition. You will say, most of you will say that, madam, this is again repetition of what you have already discussed in the theory class. But here we will emphasize upon what precautions you should take, how the experiment is performed, why you need to wash your apparatus, then what is meaning of rinsing, why rinse only this, why not the conical flask is rinsed with the hard water sample. Such type of things should come from your side, and we should discuss those things. Okay. So I'll give you the PPT of PDF of this PPT. I'll make a PDF and that I will put here so that you can anytime refer to this experiment. Okay. So coming to like a synthetic, coming to the experiment, a synthetic hard water is specially prepared in laboratory and that is given to you. And since it is synthetically prepared, it is prepared with a view that you can observe all type of hardness in it, and you get proper color changes also. And such a high hardness is rarely seen in natural waters. That is why we call this as a synthetically prepared hard water sample. Okay, so I'm telling you that you are provided with a synthetically prepared hard water sample, and that we have to titrate and see that how much is the total hardness present in that water sample, how much is calcium in that, and how much is magnesium in that. So what is the basic principle? We will determine first the total hardness. This total comprises of everything: calcium, magnesium, permanent, temporary, all type. Now this we can call this as the grand total hardness. Then we determine calcium by removing magnesium. So we call this as calcium total hardness. And when you deduct grand total minus the calcium, you get the magnesium total hardness. Then you boil the water sample and get the permanent hard water. Now, when you determine permanent hardness, you can calculate total minus permanent, you get the temporary hardness. And after getting temporary hardness, um, you can then calculate. The fourth part is little tricky, that how much is the calcium permanent hardness in this permanent water sample or boiled water sample, and how much is magnesium permanent hardness. Once you find out how much is calcium and magnesium permanent, then you can find out how much is the calcium temporary and magnesium temporary. Clear? Okay. So this is the basic concept, that there is only one hard water sample. In that one hard water sample, you have to determine the different types of hardness: total, calcium, magnesium, permanent, and temporary. Okay. Now, what are the apparatus and reagents required? Burette, pipette, stand, clamp, conical flask, volumetric flask. These are the things. Reagents required is necessarily 0.01 molar EDTA solution is provided to you. A synthetic hard water sample is provided. Then ammonium hydroxide, ammonium chloride buffer is provided to you. Buffer maintains the pH. It resists the change in pH due to the reactions taking place. Then you have iriochrome black tea. Then another one is 2 normal NaOH solution, and the other indicator is Muir oxide indicator. Okay, so these are your requirements. Then coming to the theory, ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid is sparingly soluble in water. This is the structure of ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid. This having one lone pair of electron, nitrogen here also. So it can form 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 coordinate bonds. But this being sparingly soluble in water, disodium salt of EDTA is used. So disodium salt of EDTA will ionize as this H2Y2 minus, and twice Na plus will be formed in water, and this is fairly soluble in water. So we use always disodium salt of EDTA. So EDTA is a tetraprotic acid, and when EDTA is treated with a divalent metal cation, it forms My2 minus plus twice H plus. So EDTA reacts with several metal cations in 1:1 ratio, forming 2 moles of H plus. This will lower the pH of solution, and that is why ammonia buffer solution, which maintains the pH 10, ammonium chloride, ammonium hydroxide buffer is used. So if there is a trivalent metal cation, then H2Y2 minus leads to form My minus plus twice H plus. If it is M4 plus EDTA, gives you metal EDTA complex. This is a representation My. Metal EDTA complex plus twice H plus. The structure of metal EDTA complex is a favorite question of examiners, whether you are offline or online. Structure has to be drawn properly. These are in a plane, 4 coordinate bonds, and one keeps above and one keeps below. Now, mostly it is seen that these are little bit free because they are above and below the plane. Okay. Then coming to the procedure, it is written no theory. It should be the theory part. Okay. So the theory part is again same as we had seen in the theory class. Hardness of water, total hardness of water is determined by adding first of all ammonium hydroxide, ammonium chloride buffer to the hard water sample, and then add iriochrome black tea indicator. This iriochrome black tea indicator is a PM indicator. PM means it gives different color at different pH values. Okay, as well as it gives different color with different petal cation. So this iriochrome black tea indicator, its IUPAC name is sodium 1,1 hydroxy 2 naphthyl azo 6 nitro 2 naphthol 4 sulfonate 2. Now this is the moiety, or this is the molecule which is represented as indicator IN here, indicator IN. Negative charge of this sulfonic acid group, and this is Na plus, so this is minus, and two replaceable hydrogen, so H2 indicator minus, which is red in color, which when the pH of this indicator solution is changing, turns blue between pH 6.3 to 11. You will find that it is blue in color. So most of the time when you are using it in lab, the bottle will appear blue in color. And if you change the pH and make it highly alkaline, it becomes yellow. So this is the form of your indicator when it is prepared in say water, and it's water soluble, and it is there in the bottle for your use. Okay, so initially this Iridium black tea is blue in color. When you add it to your hard water, the moment it combines with calcium and magnesium, this indicator has also complexing capacity. So it forms a wine red colored complex, and this magnesium EBT is more stable than calcium EBT. Like the stability or stability constants are higher for magnesium than calcium EBT complex, and you get formation of 2H plus. Then calcium 2 plus or magnesium 2 plus, which is present in excess or present in the solution, will be reacting with the EDTA coming from the burette and forming a magnesium EDTA chelated complex, which is colorless and water soluble, and twice H plus will be forming. And then at the end point, like when I say that magnesium EBT is more stable than calcium EBT, means at the end point, just 2 drops before your end point, you will find that if calcium EBT complex is there, that will first break, and then the magnesium EBT complex. So at the end point, when you are getting color change from wine red to clear blue, it is all the magnesium which is present with EBT as wine red complex that is extracted by this EDTA. EDTA will snatch away this magnesium and form a magnesium EDTA complex, which is colorless and water soluble, and the Eriochrome black tea indicator is set free. Now in this pH range 10, you will find that Eriochrome black tea is blue in color. Okay, so you get a color change from wine red to clear blue, and this volume of EDTA required to convert wine red to clear blue solution will correspond to total hardness present in water. So this is the structure of this, and these structures you are supposed to draw. Okay, then now some people are used to writing this EDTA. Okay, as we have discussed EDTA here, Na2H2Y. Now this Na2H2Y when undergoes when you dissolve, it becomes H2Y2 minus. So some people write this as H2Y2 minus. So when calcium and magnesium is present and you add Eriochrome black tea indicator in presence of buffer has to be here, it leads to formation of magnesium Eriochrome black tea wine red complex. Then this 2 drops of Eriochrome black tea say reacts with say some quantity, very small quantity of magnesium present in it, but rest of the 10 ml out of 10 ml, lot of calcium and magnesium free ions are there, which are not complex because Eriochrome black tea was added in very small quantity, 2 drops only. So this free calcium and magnesium will first go on complexing with the EDTA. So this is your EDTA, ethylene diamine tetraestic acid. So this go on forming calcium EDTA, colorless complex, and H plus is released. So the H plus release lowering of pH due to this H plus is taken care by the buffer which we are adding in the beginning of the experiment. And then you see that this ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid will at the end, when no free calcium and magnesium are present, then will break this magnesium Eriochrome black tea wine red complex and form a magnesium EDTA, colorless complex, and eriochrome black tea is set free, which is blue in color. So some people write H2Y2 minus. Why I am showing these reaction is in the numerical or in exam somewhere some equation is written like this. You should not confuse between that madam told us only EDTA, how to write EDTA, but EDTA can be represented as H2Y2 minus also, and you can write the whole reactions in that way. Okay, then the theory behind calcium hardness determination. So what is the theory behind calcium hardness? We know if calcium and magnesium are majorly present, then you need to remove one of them. So removing magnesium as magnesium hydroxide by treating with NaOH is simpler, and the precipitate of magnesium hydroxide which is formed also need not be filtered and removed. Even if it remains in the water sample without filtration also, you can proceed for the determination of calcium. So you have masked the masking of like magnesium has been done or magnesium has been removed, and you can now determine calcium. So for this you are provided with almost a concentrated, that is 2 or 4 normal NaOH solution, which precipitates the magnesium as magnesium hydroxide, Ksp 10 to the power minus 12, and filtration and removal of ammonia is not required, so there is no need of filtration. Let it remain in the solution, and then you add neuroxide indicator, and then after adding can be titrated with this particular muroxide, and calcium forms a reddish pink colored complex. This reddish pink complex on titration with EDTA solution, it will give you color change from this reddish pink to blue violet. So this is the indicator muroxide. Muroxide is ammonium salt of perpuric acid. This you can see NH4 plus, and this is having 1, 2, 3, 4 replaceable hydrogen. That is what is written here, H4 indicator minus initially, which is red in color up to pH 9. Between pH 9 to 11, it is H3 indicator 2 minus, which is violet in color. Then it may be H2 indicator 3 minus, which is blue in color. Now, because of NaOH, if ever the titration and H plus release is lowering from 12 to say it is coming to 11, still you can identify it as blue violet or violet blue in color. The color changes. So what I observe is it is pink to like a purple violet sort of thing. Okay, so everyone has their own definition of calling each color. For me, I never found any blue color in it. It is violet only. Okay, so this is the basic principle behind determination of calcium. Then the third part is determination of permanent hardness. For permanent hardness, you measure 100 ml of hard water and transfer it into a conical flask. Generally, this is measured with a volumetric flask only. Then you wash the volumetric flask nicely and keep it to collect the filtrate. Okay, so volumetric flask, after measuring and transferring to conical flask, it is kept aside. And then it is the conical flask, which contains 100 ml of synthetic hard water, is allowed to boil for 15-20 minutes, and then after cooling it is filtered, and the filtrate is collected in the volumetric flask again, 100 ml. So this volumetric flask will show, because it boils for 15 to 20 minutes, some loss in volume due to evaporation is seen. So that evaporation volume that is made up by adding distilled water exactly up to the mark, and then the solution is shaken and taken for determination of permanent hard water. Now, what reactions has taken place when you have boiled the water sample? When you boil the water sample, there should be a heat mark on the arrow. Okay, if you don't write heat mark, that is not good. Here I should enter some symbol here. Okay, calcium bicarbonate gives or forms calcium carbonate and twice CO2 plus H2, and magnesium bicarbonate forms hydrolyzes to give magnesium hydroxide precipitate and CO2. Here are written the KSPs for magnesium hydroxide minus 12. This is minus 9 and this is minus 6, and that is why magnesium carbonate won't be precipitating out. What will precipitate out is magnesium carbonate, its KSP being 6.8 into 10 to the power minus 6. Okay, now comes the important part which we have not discussed in the theory class. Now you are having 100 ml, you had 100 ml of permanent hardness water sample which you have prepared by boiling 100 ml, and then after boiling you will see that out of 100 ml you used around 30 ml, three titrations for permanent total hardness or complete permanent hardness. Now the thing comes here is when you want to find out in this permanent hard water sample how much is calcium permanent hardness. Now to determine calcium permanent hardness, now this is permanent total hardness present. Now calcium permanent hardness, this boiled water sample, like if you perform 3 or even 4 titration, out of 140 ml is say consumed, but still you are left with say something is lost, and still you can perform 5 more titration of 10 ml aliquot each time. Okay, so calcium permanent hardness is there, and to determine calcium permanent hardness, what is done? We will take 10 ml of this permanent hard water sample, and to this 10 ml of permanent hard water sample, we add NaOH. What will happen if you add NaOH? What all magnesium permanent hardness is present in this permanent? This permanent hardness water sample comprises of calcium permanent and magnesium permanent. Now, by adding NaOH in this fourth part, we are removing the magnesium. So, what remains behind is only calcium permanent. Then you add muroxide indicator. It will be reddish pink, and you titrate with EDTA solution till you get a clear blue solution. In the same way, you have an observation table to write CBr4, which corresponds to calcium permanent hardness. Okay, so what we find that permanent total hardness, this three number is the permanent total hardness. Okay, permanent total means calcium and magnesium both, minus the calcium permanent, this CBr4 what it will give you magnesium permanent hardness. And then calcium total hardness minus calcium permanent hardness will give you calcium temporary hardness. Okay, then you have some magnesium total hardness. Magnesium total, how you have done here? What is done? You determine the calcium hardness, and the first part is total. Now this total hardness minus the calcium hardness, you get the magnesium hardness. Okay, so we call that as magnesium total because it comprises of temporary and permanent both. So this is magnesium total hardness minus the magnesium permanent hardness. From where you are getting this? This value is obtained here, magnesium permanent hardness. How you are obtaining magnesium permanent hardness? Magnesium hardness is not titrated and performed, but it is from the difference of total minus the permanent, or total calcium minus the calcium permanent, like this. Permanent total permanent hardness minus the calcium permanent hardness gives magnesium permanent hardness. So magnesium hardness minus magnesium permanent hardness gives you magnesium temporary hardness. Okay, so this is how these three, 1, 2, 3 are the calculation based determination. Okay, now this is an important slide for you to write the procedure. Now the procedure for first part, total hardness determination, is burette is rinsed. Okay, I have written it in past participle, so I'll change this is to was. Okay, so should we go for this? What is the procedure? The burette was rinsed with EDTA solution and filled with EDTA solution and clamped on a stand. 10 ml of synthetic hard water was pipetted out and transferred to a conical flask. This is written in your language. 1/4 test tube or 2 to 3 ml of ammonium hydroxide, ammonium chloride buffer solution should be written here. Chloride buffer. Buffer solution was added to the conical flask followed by 2 drops of heliochrome black tea, which turns the synthetic hard water. See, after taking 10 ml of synthetic hard water, you add 2 to 3 ml of ammonium hydroxide, ammonium chloride buffer solution. And by adding this, you shake it nicely, you will see that the synthetic hard water turns wine red in color. Now, this wine red solution was titrated with EDTA from burette, dropwise with shaking the conical flask till the solution turned clear blue. Now, the point at which it turns clear blue, the burette reading was recorded in the observation table 1. Procedure was repeated till 2 concordant constant readings were obtained and the constant burette reading CBR1 corresponds to total hardness. Okay, so this is the procedure for part 1. The procedure for part 2 is 10 ml of synthetic hard water. To this you add some approximately 2 ml of sodium hydroxide solution and then muroxide indicator and titrate with EDTA from the burette, and the burette reading will correspond to calcium hardness. Then the third part is permanent hardness. 100 ml of synthetic hard water was measured using a volumetric flask, then transferred to a conical flask and kept for boiling for 15 minutes on a hot plate. On cooling, solution was filtered and the filtrate was collected and in a washed and dried 100 ml volumetric flask. The loss in volume due to evaporation was made up by adding distilled water. This permanent hard water sample was shaken before use. 10 ml of this sample permanent hard water was pipetted out and transferred into a conical flask. And now you are performing the procedure of total hardness determination, that is buffer and eriochrome black tea. So whenever you add buffer and eriochrome black tea, the magnesium part is not removed, it is determined. So this permanent hardness is comprising of calcium and magnesium both. So when you add buffer and eriochrome black tea indicator and titrate with EDTA to get color change from wine red to clear blue, this clear blue, the burette reading corresponds to permanent total hardness. Okay, then the calcium permanent hardness. Now this boiled water sample which you have here, this boiled water sample is taken 10 ml permanent hard water, boiled one, was pipetted out and transferred to a conical flask. To this, now instead of buffer, you are adding sodium hydroxide. Here, in this case, to determine total, you added ammonia buffer solution and eriochrome black tea indicator. Now, when you want to remove magnesium, you are adding sodium hydroxide, which removes magnesium, and you then add muroxide indicator and titrate with EDTA. This titer value will be, say, written in the table 4, will correspond to the calcium permanent hardness. Okay, now is the observation table, which is an important part in this. You can take a screenshot of this or I'll put it in your group. Okay, so like this is the mock reading given to you. These two are the constant readings, 9.9. If you don't get the third and the fourth reading constant, go on titrating. Every time take 10 ml and add indicator and titrate with EDTA till you get a reading color change. So replicate analysis reduces error in the determination and attains accuracy. So to attain accuracy in your reading, you have to repeat it again and again, and you will find that after 10, 15 titration, you will get two readings same. Okay, so this is the CBR1. This we will use to calculate the total hardness, all total hardness. Okay, grand total. Then the second observation table is calcium hardness determination. Here it is the calcium hardness where you are taking the synthetic hard water, adding NaOH and muroxide and you are performing. So your titer value here obtained was 6.1 ml. Then what you have done, you took 100 ml hard water, synthetic hard water, boiled it. After boiling it, it is containing only permanent hardness. When you determine that the burette reading, constant burette reading is 8.3 ml. So we wrote here CBR3 as 8.3. So this 8.3 will correspond to permanent hardness. Now, this 100 ml water sample, which is permanent hard water sample, that is taken in the fourth table. Here in the fourth procedure, you take 10 ml of permanent hard water. To this, you will add NaOH and mur oxide indicator. So magnesium will be removed. So magnesium permanent is removed and only calcium permanent remains in it. So now this titer value corresponds to calcium permanent hardness. Okay. And then go for the calculation. Now calculations are very easy. 1 liter 1 molar EDTA is equated to 100 grams of CaCO3. Okay. So total hardness is equal to volume of EDTA into molarity of EDTA upon the volume of water sample taken into 100 into 1000 will be in ppm. So total hardness comes out to be this. So I call generally it as the grand total hardness. Then from this total hardness, the water sample, synthetic hard water is taken here. The CBR2 is taken for calcium, which is corresponding to the calcium hardness. So volume of EDTA CBR2 you will substitute here into the molarity of EDTA by the volume of water sample taken and multiplied by 100 for CaCO3 into 1000 converted into ppm. Okay. Now we want to calculate the magnesium hardness. So magnesium hardness is obtained from total hardness minus the calcium hardness. This total hardness minus this what you will get here is the calcium hardness. So this value minus this value you will get magnesium hardness. Then the third part is permanent hardness. You had boiled the water sample and you are determining. So volume of EDTA into molarity of EDTA by the volume of water sample taken 200 into 1000 ppm of CaCO3. So that corresponds to total permanent hardness. Now this grand total minus this permanent hardness, you will get the temporary hardness. So temporary hardness is equal to total hardness minus permanent hardness. Now the fourth part is good that we are performing with the boiled water sample. The boiled water sample was taken and you added NaOH and mur oxide to get the calcium permanent hardness. So CBR4, okay, volume of EDTA here will be CBR4. Okay, so this CBR4 into the molarity of EDTA upon the volume of hard water taken, this is permanent hard water taken, will give you calcium permanent hardness. Now the next part is calcium temporary hardness, how to calculate. You can have calcium hardness is calculated here. So we will take this value of calcium hardness minus the calcium permanent you are determining here. So you get calcium temporary hardness. Then magnesium permanent hardness, you have the total permanent hardness, that is this one, permanent hardness minus calcium permanent hardness, which is determined here. You get the magnesium permanent hardness. And then what is obtained totally from the calculated values is magnesium temporary hardness. So magnesium temporary hardness can be obtained from magnesium total hardness. Now magnesium total hardness is also obtained from the calculation. It is not titrated and determined. It is total minus calcium, you get the magnesium hardness. So this magnesium hardness is put here, this value. 2B value is kept here minus the magnesium permanent hardness. Where you are getting magnesium permanent, here you are getting in the 4B part. Magnesium permanent you are getting. So you substitute magnesium hardness minus the magnesium permanent hardness, you get magnesium temporary hardness. Okay, so this is how you should go for calculating your results. And then once you obtain or perform the calculation part, you can write the result on right and left both side. The synthetic hard water has dash ppm of total hardness, out of which dash is the calcium hardness, dash ppm is the magnesium hardness, and this one is permanent hardness and temporary hardness, then calcium permanent hardness, calcium temporary hardness, magnesium permanent hardness, and magnesium temporary hardness, all expressed as CaCO3 equivalents. Okay, and then you please write the precautions in your own language. That is my request to all of you. If you think that there is some precaution to be taken, first precaution you should write is wash your apparatus with tap water first of all. Then rinse the burette with EDTA solution. That is very important. Then pipette every time when you are pipetting out synthetic hard water or permanent hard water, the pipette should be, whenever the water sample is changing, you should wash the pipette and rinse the pipette with the respective solution. जैसे synthetic hard water आपने एक बार pipette out किया है तो उसको again, if you are pipetting out synthetic hard water only, there is no need of washing. But when you are shifting from synthetic hard water and then you are going for permanent hard water, boiled one, there you need to wash your pipette and rinse the pipette with permanent hard water sample. Rinsing means taking small quantity into the pipette, rolling it in on your two hands so that the bulb of the solution, the bulb of the pipette, because the pipette will be having the inner walls will be containing water droplets. So that should be removed and discard. This rinsing solution should be discarded into the sink. Okay, so that precaution is there. Then definitely first buffer should be added and then idiochrome black tea should be added. Then in case of magnesium determination, again first NaOH should be added and then the muroxide should be added. And this is how you can go. Okay, so this is all regarding. Things are clear or not?
Ma'am, can you please dictate the precautions again?
Again,
Yeah, so that we can make a rough note.
yeah, rough note is first of all, wash all your apparatus before starting the experiment. Then rinse the burette with EDTA solution. And then fill EDTA in the burette. There should be no air bubble in the burette, nor in the jet of the burette. Then regarding pipette, you have to wash the pipette because every batch is, अभी तो आप नहीं है lab में, but when you are in lab, throughout the day there will be 4 batches coming to the lab, and all 4 batches will be using at one place. There will be a pipette. So the special instruction is there that the pipette mouth, the upper end of the pipette should be washed thoroughly before putting it into your mouth. So that is one precaution. And second one is you have to wash the pipette nicely, thoroughly, and then rinse it with the solution you want to pipette out. Okay, rinse means small quantity is taken, all the water droplets adhering the inner wall, which may dilute the solution, should be, and then this rinsing solution should be discarded into the sink. It should not be collected back because water droplets might have diluted that, so it should be discarded into the sink. Then when you pipette out, first of all you should add buffer and then the indicator. If it is not buffer, then for calcium determination you should add NaOH first and then the muroxide indicator. Then in the second part where calcium determination is there, the color change is not very prominent, or like it's difficult to make out the color change. So always prepare 2 conical flasks. every seat or seat number in the lab has two conical flasks, two beakers like this. So prepare two conical flasks with NaOH and indicator. Keep one as a reference on the white tile and the other conical flask with NaOH and buffer Eriochrome black tea should be titrated with EDTA to check the color change. So once you get to know the color change, you can perform that. Okay, so these are some of the precautions. Things are clear? Over.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anywhere, any doubt? See, this is the aim, this is the theory, and this is not the procedure. You can call this as theory part only. Theory for total hardness determination. Okay? So in the theory, you are writing this. So reactions can be written on right hand side. The structure of metal, like even this structure. This structure you can write with pencil. Then you write this is sparingly soluble. Then you draw this structure. Write this is water soluble disodium salt of EDTA. Then you write these things will be written on right hand side. Reactions. Metal EDTA complex can be drawn on left hand side, this one, and the indicator structure also can be drawn with pencil on left hand side. This also can be written on left hand side with pencil, so all indicator part, but these things should be written on right hand side in the theory part with pen. Okay, then this part will come with pen, these things, and this can be drawn with pencil on left hand side. Okay, the indicator part. Then this will come on the right hand side, all those things, and then the procedure of course will be on right hand side. So when you are writing procedure on right hand side, the left hand side will be having the observation table, on right hand side procedure, left hand side observation table, simultaneously on both the sides, and then calculation on left hand side, and what all calculation is there, it's a single step calculation. You will write the result on right hand side like this. Okay, so that completes the experiment. Anyone having any doubt? No one has any doubt?
Ma'am, result on both sides.
Result should be written on both sides. So I have put it one after the other. You can write it in a like sentence form, one after the other, instead of one below the other.
Okay, madam.
Yeah, is there any doubt in this part? Till here I had explained to you in the theory class. Now this part is something where you are using a boiled water sample as permanent hard water sample, and this permanent hard water sample is where you are putting NaOH so that magnesium is removed and you determine calcium permanent. That's all.
Ma'am, please show observation slide again.
Okay, this is one first observation to table which corresponds to total hardness.
Ma'am, second one.
And this is second table, calcium hardness, then permanent hardness, then calcium permanent hardness.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so how many students are here? From X1 and X2, almost 45 students are present together. So 3 students are absent. Are they 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is absent. 9.
Ma'am, you didn't count me.
Yes, क्या हुआ?
मैम आपने रोल नंबर 8 को काउंट ही नहीं किया.
अरे 7 and 9 are absent. जो है present, I am not counting them. I'm just looking into it. Like the attendance is not calculated by me. Okay, attendance will be calculated by the research scholar.
Ma'am, can you please show the all slides one by one so that I can
Yes,
take a
yes, yes,
screenshot?
yes, don't worry. I'll put the PDF in the group. Because this is an important experiment. This is important from all aspects, all point of view, theory, practical, everything. And in your exam also, if you come by chance, you will get it this only to perform, most of you. Performance test is also very accurate readings you get. So there is very less deviation. 78 Satish and 89. 78 and 89, why you have joined?
Yes, ma'am.
78, 89, you are not in these batches?
No, ma'am. I am X1 batch.
X078.
Yes, ma'am.
X089. Okay. So it doesn't matter. Anyhow, I'll be putting it in your whole class group. So that doesn't matter. Okay. So with this, I think hardness experiment, the X2 batch students, does it have any doubt? X2 batch students.
No, ma'am.
Anyone having any doubt in this experiment? So let us disperse now. You can leave the meeting, X2 batch. And I will continue with X1 with the alkalinity experiment.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so all X2 batch students should leave. So X2 has written experiment number 1 and number 2 also, and you don't have any doubt in these two experiments now. Is it? Is it right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
so if
Yes,
you
ma'am.
have any doubt, the WhatsApp group has been made so that all your doubts you can put into that group. Okay, or you write your questions, and whenever we are meeting tomorrow morning 10 a.m. in the theory class, पहले doubts discuss करेंगे, बाद में theory start करेंगे. Clear? Okay, so X2 please leave the meeting.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Can you see the screen? Roll number 1 to 24.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
So
Yes,
I
ma'am.
think we started with this experiment. This is experiment number 1, determination of clear. Experiment number 1, determination of type and extent of alkalinity in water samples. Okay. Now this is what initially I told. that what will be your left hand side, what will be on right hand side. Okay, pencil work on left, pen work on right side. Then borders method and the borders table. And here we are having using n by 40, that is n by 40 means 0.025 normal Na2CO3 solution. Normal and molar are different for sodium carbonate because the molecular weight by 2 will be the equivalent weight, and we are saying normal means we are considering the equivalent weight of sodium carbonate for calculation and preparation of solution. Okay, so that is the difference. So this being a solid material, solid base, it is used as primary standard to standardize the HCl. You have phenolphthalein and methyl orange 2 indicators. All these things we have seen. Coming to this table. Now, how to get this table? Now, a water sample can be alkaline due to presence of hydroxide or carbonate or bicarbonate. Now, if you get a water sample, it may be alkaline due to only hydroxide or due to only carbonate or due to only bicarbonate. Or it may also be alkaline due to a combination of hydroxide and carbonate, or a water sample may be alkaline due to combination of carbonate and bicarbonate. The combination of hydroxide and bicarbonate is ruled out because when they are mixed together, they form carbonate. So these two will not coexist at a simultaneously or at the same time. Okay. Now, when you go for titrating the alkalinities, hydroxide, carbonate, and bicarbonate, it is seen that when you titrate with HCl or H plus, the first one with which it is undergoing titration is hydroxide, forming H2O. And the stronger part of carbonate is neutralized at P endpoint, which gives formation or partial neutralization leading to HCO3 minus. So these two reactions, hydroxide and half neutralization of carbonate, happens to take place at phenolphthalein endpoint, or when your solution changes pink to colorless, that is P endpoint. Now, when the solution turns colorless, you note it down as P and you add methyl orange indicator to the colorless solution, and ahead of P you have to titrate. So all bicarbonates will be neutralized ahead of P up to M. So what is M? When you add methyl orange, if bicarbonate is present, it will show yellow color. This yellow color will turn orange red. Okay, so the volume of acid run down from beginning, that is 0 mark, up to P and then up to M. From the relationship between these P and M, we can state that what type of alkalinity is present in the water sample. So if your P and M relationship is like initially P is 0, that is phenolphthalein when was added to the water sample, the solution doesn't turn pink, it remains colorless. In such situation, you call P is 0. Now when P is 0, there is no hydroxide and no carbonate. Why? Because if it is pink, phenolphthalein is a neutralization indicator which shows color change. There is no phenolphthalein structure. Yeah, here. This phenolphthalein is colorless below 8 and above 8. It becomes this quinonoid form or it becomes pink in color. And this is all in above 8. It is seen that it is having hydroxide and carbonate, and that is why hydroxide is also absent, carbonate is also absent, and whatever is there is bicarbonate alkalinity, which corresponds to M, or the volume of acid run down to get a color change from yellow to orange red is M. So that will correspond to bicarbonate. Now, if you get P exactly equal to M, that means there is only hydroxide, there is no carbonate and bicarbonate. If P is equal to half M, that means it is comprising of only sodium carbonate. There is no hydroxide because this is exactly equal to half M, means P is carbonate to bicarbonate and M is bicarbonate to H2O plus CO2. So complete neutralization. That indicates 2P will correspond to carbonate alkalinity or M will correspond to carbonate alkalinity. And this is not there. Now, when your hydroxide is there with along with carbonate, P value will be greater than half M, and in that case, 2P minus M will be hydroxide, and twice M minus P will be carbonate. There is no bicarbonate in that sample. If your P value is less than half M, then hydroxides are nil, and carbonate is 2P, and bicarbonate is M minus 2P. Okay, so these are the different cases. Just now I told you one of the cases. Just now we have discussed all these things. This is a burette. This is how burette should be filled. You have to move little bit away from the platform. Hold the burette in your left hand. Keep the beak of the beaker containing HCl on the burette end, and along the side solution should flow so that there is no air bubble trapped inside the burette, nor there should be any air bubble in the jet of the burette. Then the lower meniscus of the colorless solution should be adjusted against the mark on the burette. These are pipette. The internal volumes are calibrated, and they are the specific volumes. And pipette should be held in this way that the index finger should close. Like once you pipette out with your mouth, the solution is there in the pipette. Close it with your index finger, and then when the level of solution comes exactly to that mark, then you have to transfer it into the conical flask. Pipette is rinsed by this solution, burette is rinsed by the HCl solution, but the conical flask, which is washed with water and contains lot of water droplets, that is never rinsed with this solution, okay? Because we want the exact 10 ml volume to transfer into the conical flask, okay? So this is the structure of phenolphthalein. This is the structure of methyl orange. You can take a screenshot of these two. This one and this one. Okay, so what is the standardization procedure? For standardization, 10 ml of standard sodium carbonate solution is pipetted out and transferred to a conical flask, and 2 to 3 drops of methyl orange indicator is added here. There is no phenolphthalein, methyl orange is used, and it is titrated with HCl from the burette till the color changes from yellow to red. Note the titer value in the observation table. This is the observation table. Repeat the procedure till you get to concordant constant readings. And here is the volume of sodium carbonate standard solution, which is N by 40, that is 0.025 normal. 10 ml is taken. This is the burette reading every time. 10 ml, 9.8, 9.8, 9.9. So the constant burette reading is 9.8 ml. Calculate N1 V1 is equal to N2 V2. You have some calculation ahead also. You can get the normality of HCl here. Then determination of alkalinity. Take the first water sample, put out 10 ml of water sample, add first phenolphthalein indicator, and titrate with the HCl solution which was earlier standardized. The pink color will turn colorless, and that will be the endpoint P. And when it turns colorless, you add methyl orange indicator, the second indicator, to same solution, and titrate further yellow to orange red. That will be M. So this is your you don't have to draw these diagrams. This is all for just for your understanding how you go for these different solutions. Now the important part is these are some photographs. This is phenolphthalein indicator water. A poly bottle is there. The conical flask contains water samples. Here to the alkaline water sample, phenolphthalein is added, so it gives nice pink color. On titrating with HCl, it gives a colorless solution. Then to this colorless solution, when you add methyl orange indicator, you get yellow colored solution. One of the conical flask is titrated and one is kept to take the color change. So this is one which is titrated. It shows an orange pink color or red pink color. That means it has turned from 8 to say 4.3 pH, and that is why all bicarbonate are neutralized, and that is how this is pink to colorless होने के बाद मिथाइल ऑरेंज ऐड किया उसमें, it became yellow. When it is yellow, you titrate with HCl, then it becomes reddish pink, orange red. Okay, so this is the Waders table, and to know how these two values came, this one, this hydroxide, carbonate, bicarbonate. This is the only confusing part. So that is explained by taking an example that you consider that a mixture of NaOH and Na2CO3 has been made, and that is given to you as water sample. In that case, M will correspond to the total alkalinity of hydroxide and carbonate. That is what is written here. And the reactions proceed in the same fashion. All hydroxide is neutralized at P, and half of the carbonate is neutralized at P endpoint. So P corresponds to neutralization of hydroxide and half carbonate. M minus P will be half carbonate. So twice M minus P will be carbonate. Now we substitute the value of this carbonate here, and we say M is equal to hydroxide plus 2 twice M minus P. So hydroxide comes out to be 2P minus M. Okay, and that this hydroxide 2P minus M and carbonate twice M minus P has been substituted here. So hydroxide volume will be 2P minus M and carbonate is twice M minus P. Similarly, for a mixture of sodium carbonate bicarbonate, carbonate is neutralized half at P, and the originally present bicarbonate and the bicarbonate obtained from partial neutralization of carbonate all is neutralized at M. So 2P becomes carbonate and M minus 2P becomes bicarbonate, and that is what is being written. 2P corresponds to carbonate and M minus 2P corresponds to bicarbonate. Okay. Then this is the part where you should take a screenshot or a photograph. This is the observation table you have to write down. Have you done the readings? How many of you are writing the readings? "28 are here. This is sample 3, sample 4 and sample 5. Roll number 1. Roll number 2.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Roll number 3.
Oh, ma'am, did you call me?
Yeah, I am asking, are you writing this table or taking a screenshot of this?
Ma'am, screenshot.
Ma'am.
Then no one is saying, madam, we are done with taking the screenshot. You can go ahead. Okay, so these are the observation table, and you are supposed to write these observations on the left hand side with pencil, and then you go for the calculation as given here. See, these calculations are there. For case 1, P is equal to 0. Alkalinity due to bicarbonate is the volume of HCl M. This is M1 means this corresponds to this M value or volume of HCl into the normality of HCl upon the volume of water sample. This into the equivalent weight of bicarbonate is 61. So this is 61. So this is the bicarbonate alkalinity. Now when you express it as CaCO3 equivalents, it becomes 61 into 50 by 61. So that this is alkalinity in CaCO3 equivalents. Now for another water sample where P is equal to M, it is alkalinity due to only hydroxide. Here you consider the volume of HCl corresponding to hydroxide. Okay, this one. Here M is volume of HCl corresponding to hydroxide. So that you have to consider M into normality of HCl upon volume of water sample into 17. 17 is the equivalent weight for hydroxide. Okay. Then when you calculate CaCO3 equivalent, it will be 17 into 50 by 17. So you are sure that this is hydroxide alkalinity. Then carbonate alkalinity when P is equal to half M. So equivalent weight for carbonate is 30 and this M3 means what? This part. P is equal to half M. यहाँ पे जो M है, ये M है यहाँ. Volume of HCl corresponding to this particular carbonate alkalinity. So ye M and this M are different. So you calculate this. Again here when you calculate in CaCO3 equivalent, you are doing 30 into 50 by 30. 30 will cancel. You will say, madam, why we are doing this part? Why not multiply directly? But you should know that this is carbonate alkalinity and make habit of writing these again. 30 here and 30 here. Then a combination of hydroxide and carbonate. Here the P and M endpoints, the relationship is P greater than half M, right? जहाँ भी P greater than half M है, वहाँ पे what is the volume of HCl corresponding to hydroxide alkalinity? So 2P minus M. So 2P minus M, whatever are your P and M endpoints, find out the volume corresponding to hydroxide. And that volume you will put into this formula into normality of HCl into 17 upon the volume of water sample taken. You get hydroxide alkalinity, and then for carbonate twice M minus P is the volume of HCl, normality of HCl, water sample 30 into 50 by 30, you get carbonate alkalinity in ppm CaCO3 equivalents. So hydroxide and carbonate now, because they are in CaCO3 equivalent, you can add them together, and here you can represent it as the total alkalinity of water sample 4 was found to be sum of these two, should be written here. Okay. And similarly, when P is less than half M, alkalinity due to combination of carbonate and bicarbonate is 2P corresponds to carbonate and M minus 2P correspond to bicarbonate. So when you are calculating carbonate, you will put 2P 30, M minus 2P 61. And then total alkalinity of this water sample 5 can be expressed as sum of carbonate and bicarbonate alkalinities here. Okay, so this is how you will write, and then write the result. The type of alkalinity of the water sample was found to be this, and extent also you are supposed to write in this. And these are the precautions. Things are clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so should we close the class now?
Yes, ma'am. But
Tomorrow
please share the
morning,
PDF, ma'am, on group.
tomorrow morning 10 a.m. we have a theory class. Anyone having any doubt?
No, ma'am.
Okay, then I'll
Ma'am,
stop
please share the PDF. Sir.
Yes,
Please share the PDF on group, ma'am.
this one. नहीं alkalinity तो इतने बार repeat कर दिया. I'll share hardness experiment. Okay, this I have shown you. You want? I'll keep the thing. I'll do my work. You can just say that, madam, we want to write something. I'll keep that here.
Ma'am, please show theory slides once.
Theory of this particular thing. This is important.